Thanks for tuning into another episode on the Nail Nerds Unite podcast. Today's episode is going to be a kickoff of a series all about efficiency and speed when it comes to nail services. So, the number one question I always see in nail groups is, how do I get faster? Well, today I'm going to give you my personal top tricks on how to cut your time and improve your efficiency. What's up, nail nerds? Welcome to Nail Nerds Unite, the podcast for quirky and artistic nail techs who love what they do and love making money doing it. Join us as we dive into everything about working in and out of the chair in your business. From choosing the right products to navigating the ins and outs of entrepreneurship, we've got you covered. So grab a coffee and a snack, because it might be the only time you have to eat today. And join our vibrant community as we share stories, offer advice, and support one another on our journey to success. I'm your host, Jessica Safransky, and this is Nail Nerds Unite. What's up, nail nerds? How do I get faster? We've all asked this question at least once in our careers, and I think it's a really important topic to talk about. Being in a service industry, we all know, or at least we should know, that time is money. And if we expect business to grow and make more money, then we need to look at our service timing. It's really important to know that the actual answer to this question of how do I get faster is actually really simple. There's really kind of like two paths you can take. One is you can cut out steps, or two, you can get more efficient. Cutting out steps isn't always the best choice, but sometimes you can cut some things out. But most of the time, let's be real, it's just about being efficient and making the best use out of your time. There is a balance, though, between having a quick service time and having a quality service, though. And that's kind of where the cutting steps out thing comes into play, because if you're trying to cut out too many steps or necessary steps that affect the quality of the nails that you do, then that's probably not something you should be cutting out. But if you're cutting out stuff that maybe you're doing twice, like if you're trying to file the shape of the nails more than once, or if you find yourself using the same bit for several things, but you pop it in and out and do other things in between, all that kind of matters into like which steps you can kind of cut out and simplify to get better service time. So let's start off with, though, let's take a step back, because what I think a lot of people fail to sort of recognize and think about is what is actually included in that time that you're trying to, shorten. And what I mean by that is like your actual service time versus like how much you're actually booking out for your clients, because those are two different things. You have to think about, everybody's times is going to be different, first of all, based on experience and products and whatnot. But also, everybody's situation working in a salon is also going to be different. So, if you are working as a solo tech, then you have to check your own people in and out and do all of your own cleanup and all that sort of stuff. But if you're in another salon that has a receptionist or a salon coordinator or somebody who does some of those tasks for you, then you don't have to worry about that being in your included time. So it's really hard to compare yourself to other people who are not in that same sort of environment that you are in. Right? So think about personally your setup and your environment and your timing. Are you wanting to look at the time that you booked out, or are you wanting to look at specifically just the service time in improving efficiency? So things that might not be included in your service time are checking people in and out, any bathroom breaks that your client has to take, obviously the checkout process, rebooking your clients, and taking pictures, which is some people would say is included in the service, but not everybody takes pictures, and some people are harder to take pictures for, but stuff like that. Things that are in your service, though, that you can actually take a look at are things like your whether or not your clients wash their hands and how many times they wash their hands, stuff like picking out a color or picking out a design, the actual service itself, and what service you're providing, because some services do take longer than others for good reasons. And then, of course, just how your client is sort of behaving, for lack of a better term, really. So, like how they're sitting, are they antsy? Are they talking a lot? Do they play with their phone? All that sort of stuff. Like how are they behaving at the actual service? And there's actually things that people do in their services that maybe you don't either. Added stuff like maybe providing a massage or an exfoliation. Not everybody does cuticle work in their services. So is that something that you do as well? You can't compare yourself to other people who are including these things in their service time, or if you're including these things and other people don't. All that sort of stuff takes extra time and extra planning. So when you're looking at your service time and you're trying to figure out a starting point, most people have an idea of how much time they take, be it just their service time or how much time they block out for stuff. But when you're really getting into an audit for your time, my best way of doing this, and I did this early on in my career, is I got a timer. You can just use your phone if you want, or a stopwatch or something like that, and a notepad and a pen. And all you're going to do is go through, like, spend a day or a couple days, however long, but I would say at least a full day of writing down every single step that you do in a service and how long it actually takes you. So if it takes you 5 minutes to remove color, then write that down. If it takes you 15 minutes to prep, write that down. If they have to go take a bathroom break to wash their hands at any point, write how long that takes them to do. Every single little thing, just write it all out. And then you're going to look at that and you're going to evaluate, okay, are there things that I'm doing twice? There was once upon a time where I was literally filing the nails probably 3 times in a service. I didn't really realize how much extra time it was taking me to do that, to have to go back and go back and go back. Because I would do it at the cut down and I would shape them and then I would, prep the nail and I'd probably shape it a little bit more and then I'd apply product and then shape it again. And at the very end, you put all this gel polish on there and maybe you'd have to crisp it up again. There was a lot of extra filing. And so looking at that, I was able to just kind of cut it all down and be like, all right, I'm not filing until I'm done applying product. And then I'm just going to barely touch it at the end if I need to. And that's it. Also, if there are any tools or products that you're using multiple times for different parts, see if you can bring those together. So if you are using your carbide bit for removals and cut downs and debulking and curl correction and all of those things, then do that all in one fell swoop because it will minimize how many times you are taking your bit in and out and all that, those few seconds that it takes to swap it out and swap to something else. It'll end up adding up and it'll save you time in the long run. Okay. Once you've kind of got your whole timing sheet down, and you've cut out those things that are sort of doubled up, then you go back and you want to focus on one thing at a time. And I'm talking like for a week. Focus on just one thing and making that better and more efficient. So you could pick in 1 week to just focus on your cuticle work. Take a hard look on, what products are you using for it? Can I use a different bit? Can I use a different product? Can I just do it at a different time? Can I add it into another part so I don't have to, switch my bit? Are there certain times in the prep work that it would fit better in and maybe be more efficient? Anything like that. And then just make changes for a whole week and then reevaluate your timing again at the end of the week so you can see how it's changed. Even if it's just a few seconds, even if it's like a whole minute, like that's a big deal. Again, because it'll all add up. And you just keep doing that for one part and another part and then another part and just keeping that focus. So it's not always going to be an overnight thing when it comes to tiny stuff like that, but it's still important to do and then just keep reevaluating often. Outside of your service, there is some things that you can work on for improving your time. Obviously, the check-in and check-out process can be simplified a little bit, just making sure everything is all lined up and you know exactly, what you're charging your clients, and setup is easy. Cleaning up in between clients should all be systematic. You should know exactly as soon as your client leaves what you need to do to flip your station over for the next person. During the checkout process, it's always good. You could honestly almost eliminate having to like pre-book your clients for their next one if you just train them how to do it themselves, or if you have your clients on a standing appointment, because then you just eliminate that completely, and or you leave it in their court so it's on their time and not yours, so that'll save you time as well. So efficiency also goes beyond the steps of your service, like the actual like product application kind of thing. So the ergonomics of you and your client are really important when it comes to saving time. So we all know that clients that move around a lot and play on their phone and can't sit right, things take longer. So it's good to take the evaluation time and the focus that you're doing on the service to also include your clients into this process and teach them how they should actually be behaving during your service. So teach them how to sit, teach them that they should be sitting, forward with their arms on the armrest and not just their hands, and that they shouldn't be like playing with their phone and all this stuff that's like distracting that can take extra time away from you doing your job. So bring them into this process. The other thing is your organization on your station. So where do you have your products? I'm right-handed, so all of my main stuff is going to be on my right-hand side because it's going to be easy to grab and to use. Everything that I use the most often is going to be way more easily accessible. So all of my base coats, top coats, primers, anything like that, those are all going to be like first drawer, easy to grab. Anything that I'm going to use like secondary, like brushes and such, those are going to be close, but not necessarily on my dominant side. And then anything else that you have that you need for a service, so like polishes, towels, files, anything like that, should all be ideally within arm's reach. So you should really try and minimize how many times you have to actually like stand up, get out of a chair, leave the station, go anywhere else, and come back. That doesn't always work in every salon situation. And I've definitely worked in salons before where like half of the stuff is in the back room and you have to like go back and forth. So, in order to make the most of that, really, you just have to think about, okay, I'm going to need all of these things for my appointment. So, I'm just going to go back and grab all of those things and then bring them. So, you can get a little tray or a little basket or something like that, and just bring everything out at once, because then you don't have to worry about getting up numerous times to go back and forth. The other thing that I think a lot of people don't take a look at is how quickly their products are curing and what sort of environment works best for that. So, regardless if you're like acrylic or gel, acrylic can be a little bit more temperamental for different temperatures. So, like if it's a warmer temperature, your acrylic can set a lot faster, and if it's cold, then it'll set a lot slower. Whereas with gel, if it's warmer, it's going to be like it's going to run a lot faster. Whereas if it's cold, it's going to be a little harder to self level, which for some people makes it easier and for some people makes it harder to work with. So you have to pay attention to what your environment is and what products you're using and how they sort of connect. I recommend people, and those who've chatted with me in my DMs about this, I recommend people getting a hygrometer for their like nail room or their nail station. And the hygrometer will actually tell you the temperature as well as the humidity, because there are definitely times where if it's too humid, acrylic will set slower even though it's warm. And it kind of leaves it like a little gummy for a little longer too. It's kind of weird. So it's good to have that so you know exactly sort of what you're walking into before you actually get your products out. And from there, you can kind of figure out, okay, I really like it when my room is 70 degrees and, 40% humidity or whatever. And then you can work on changing your actual environment to stay stable so that you get more consistent timing with your product use. And for my final tip, really, is to just have a map for your services. So do the same process for all of your services, just streamline it so that when it doesn't matter what client sits down, but when they sit down, you know exactly what you're doing next. And everything will sort of turn into this autopilot, which will improve your muscle memory, which will improve your efficiency. And all of this together will help to cut down your service time and make things go more smoothly, allowing you overall to add in more clients to your day or just increase your revenue by taking less time. So, like I said, this episode is a kickoff of a series about efficiency, and I have some pretty amazing guests lined up that I've invited to speak on the show about their tips on efficiency and how you can take those steps to increase your earning potential. So make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get notified when the next episode drops. And I would love it if you would take the time to like and share this podcast with a friend. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Until next time, keep creating, keep thriving, and stay nerdy.